Make sure it's on the YouTube. Yep, we're going and take. Welcome to Ask the Supervisor. I'm Matt Lownes, your host today in the control room with John, who will be taking over in a second. And of course, I'm joined with the supervisor, Peter Van Scoyoc. Peter, how you doing? We haven't gotten together in a while. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good right now. I did take about a 10-day COVID vacation, which I don't recommend.
Well, I mean, as long as you're feeling better, we need our supervisor desperately.
Thank you, Matt.
We're hoping that you're feeling better, and we're happy.
It's good to be back and COVID free. I'm feeling really good to be back, and there's a lot going on, and we're right in the thick of it. Labor Day's coming. The season's coming to a climactic end. It's that time of year when the Hampton Classic is underway. And some of those traditional events coming forward. Labor Day is the sort of the last hurrah of the summer season, and then comes Tumbleweed Tuesday, and the kids are back in school, and things change a little bit. I'm sure weekends will continue to be busy throughout the fall.
Definitely.
As the shoulder season, popularity has grown, and we have, the film festival. The East Hampton's International Film Festival in East Hampton now celebrating its 30th year.
Huge.
So that's there'll be some extra festivities involved with that this year. My understanding is that they will bracket both weekends, so it'll be weekend on either end, and films all through the middle as well. And so we'll be excited to have that. It's the time of year for the Montauk Fall Festival as well. That early October weekend, which had traditionally been called Columbus Day, and now a lot of people are calling it Indigenous Peoples Day, and call it whatever you like. It's a great long weekend opportunity to enjoy some of the local festivities here.
Yeah, so as always, you can call in. I know we don't usually get callers, but you can call in. John, if you just want to minimize to make sure you can see if there are callers. But as we move on to the show here, speaking of Montauk, I wanted to open the show with something we've talked about sometimes on here, but you've definitely heard David Lease talk about it at the town board meetings. The Lars Simonson Lars Simonson Skate Park has finally reopened after its fantastic renovation. It's beautiful. I passed by it this weekend. It's stunning. There was a ribbon cutting ceremony. Were you able to attend that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how'd it go?
I was very pleased to be well enough and back. I was back among the living on Wednesday, and the ribbon cutting was on Friday. What a spectacular event. Huge turnout from folks in Montauk and elsewhere. I think well over 350 people there at any given time. A lot of people were coming and going, so total attendance could have been over 500. There were two different bands, local bands playing.
Oh, cool.
Student Body, John Carlo, and his band, featuring his wife on bass, and then the Montauk Project with again some local folks, Mark Scaboni and Josh Leclerc on guitars, and Jasper Conroy on drums. It was a lot of fun, and kids from 3 years old to 80, probably 75 or 80 kids were skateboarding, riding scooters, inline skates.
Did you drop in on the half pipe?
I dropped in for the ceremony, but I did not drop in on that pipe. No, I thought, why mar a perfectly good event with me trying to get on a skateboard? I may go, when things are settled down, and try it out. One of the great things about the park, and the renovation, is the fact that the accessibility to all levels of boarding or roller fans is there now. Everything from this beautiful little snake course that kind of winds around just like a snake, going deeper into like a bowl area,
Yep.
to the street park design, which is what we saw in the Olympics. That event, it includes ramps, stairs, rails, large flat area that comes up with sort of like a, I guess, cone shape.
Yeah.
It's topped off. And I had the honor and pleasure of addressing the crowd there. We talked about, what's possible when you come together as a community. This is a project that was 80% privately funded.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was an extensive amount of money that was raised by Montauk through the Skate Park Coalition.
They had that big sign up for years.
Yeah, worked directly with the town. So this was a less than 2-year project.
Wow.
And recommend that you go out there and check it out. Take the kids, have fun, skate at your own risk. Make sure you wear your safety helmet and whatnot, but skate at your own risk. And the other nice thing about the project was we cleared the invasive species off of that hill, which was all overgrown with vines and invasives. We left a couple of native trees there, I think cherries and chad. But that hillside had traditionally and historically been used for sledding in the winter by folks in Montauk. And so from the skate park down to the ball fields at Lions Field, it's a nice, beautiful slope. Some of the kids were actually taking their skateboards down it right in a seated position. But it was a wonderful afternoon. We had a ribbon cutting. We had our county legislator, Bridget Fleming, was there, along with the town board members, Kathy Burke-Gonzalez, David Lease, of course, who's the liaison to the project, who did a terrific job interfacing and making sure the project moved ahead. Kevin Ahern, former assistant deputy highway superintendent, who's worked on capital projects for the town, was involved heavily. He was actually a friend of Andy Kessler, whose memory was also evoked for this. Andy, of course, skateboarder, well known, built the Riverside Skate Park in New York City back in 1996, I think it was. It's a great project there. So a lot of folks were remembering Andy, and just the vibe, the good feelings, smiles all around. Everybody was having a really good time. And again, people say, that would never happen. And people came together and made it happen. That was sort of like throwing down the gauntlet. Oh yeah, we're going to make this happen. So
don't question.
Kudos to the coalition and all those members, who came together. John Barton, particularly, headed up the cause on the coalition side. We had significant donations from a lot of people. So great feeling. That's something that, we can all enjoy and be proud of for many decades to come.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely stunning. I passed by and I was going somewhere else in Montauk, and I stopped my car. I just stopped to marvel at it.
It's fun just to go in and watch, and it's beautifully laid out. I have to say that the crew doing the construction were an incredibly cohesive group who really took such pride in what they do. They do this all around the country, top-notch group. And then they gave us all a treat by doing some amazing tricks in the bowl.
Cool.
In the bowl. They're really good skateboarders, just phenomenal. So much fun to watch. Everybody had a great time. And there's they call it Stonehenge. When they were doing excavation, of course, it's Montauk and glacial erratics or almost anywhere you try to excavate. So there are a lot of large stones that came out. They incorporated them into the park in some cases, and a number of the larger kind of flatter stones they put in a semicircle on the top of the hill overlooking the park.
Oh, that's awesome.
You can look over the park, or you can look out across the horizon towards the ocean and Fort Pond. It's just spectacular and stunning. So we're super proud to be part of it. We're super proud of the community for coming together and putting this together. So
Yeah,
You have to check it
congratulations.
out, everybody.
Congratulations to the residents of Montauk that have put years into this. This is truly an accomplishment of the citizens as much as it is the town of East Hampton.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
let's move on to the next topic. Inflation has affected every single zip code in this entire country, but we're really feeling it out here. All full time and active employees who work 30 more hours per week with the town of East Hampton will receive a supplemental payment. The payments can be anywhere from 1875 to 2500 depending on the hours worked. Like I said, while inflation is staggered, gas prices have slightly gone down. We obviously all feel the effects of it. Can you just explain the board's decision for inflation related supplemental payments that you approved, while the town board approved last week while you were absent?
Sure, Matt. And this really goes back to before last year's budget cycle, when it was very apparent in negotiating labor contracts. We arrived at a labor contract with the CSEA. Actually, all four bargaining units were settled: the PBA, the dispatchers, the Superior Officers Association, and the CSEA. Um, so, after that, it became apparent to me, given the additional strains, that we needed to take a hard look at across the board at our wages for town employees. And so we implemented last year's budget cycle, after the contract was settled, the regrading of 100 and I think it was 136 different positions to help bring wages up to remain competitive. Because basically, we have a responsibility to ensure that we can remain viable in our workforce, and we need to support our workers with fair and equitable wages. And so, as part of that effort, after the contract was settled, we sought to regrade those positions. The board supported that. We did that. This year, obviously, we've had a huge spike, a 40-year spike in inflation, mostly due to fuel costs disruption caused by the war in Ukraine primarily, but other factors as well, which has only compounded our housing issue. And that has contributed to the stress on the town, whether it be the municipal government or other businesses, the ability to attract and retain staff. So again, we're seeing that we need to make adjustments. This is a mid-year adjustment, and we feel it's necessary, given the additional stresses on employees. And I am looking now at the 2023 budget. Starting in January, there will be additional adjustments to wages of town employees. My goal has always been to stay underneath the 2% tax cap, but as I alluded last year in the budget cycle, at a certain point, it may become necessary in order to be viable and sustainable in keeping employees, because we compete with the private sector as well. We compete with other municipalities. There's been a little bit of poaching, if you will, of employees. We have great employees, and other municipalities, when they get openings, have actively tried to recruit some of our employees. So we need to be able to stay competitive, and I'm well aware of that. It puts us in a tight spot when we're trying to also stay below the 2% tax cap. I intend to do that again this year, to stay below the tax cap. But at a certain point, we may have to, breach that threshold, simply because we're not able to keep the town fully employed. And we're already on a pretty austere budget, and have been for a number of years. We've tried to build back. From the financial crisis, we're in a really good spot financially. And again, we had Moody's, for the fifth straight year of my term, again, give us a AAA bond rating.
Yep.
We've conservatively budgeted, but we don't have people to plow our roads or fill potholes or provide other necessary services, then we're going to be in bad shape pretty quickly. So, we're continuing to work on hiring any vacancies we had, in the police department due to attrition, due to retirements, and the fact that Suffolk County Police Academy was not offering academy sessions, and so it was hard for a few years to get recruits. We're now out of that. We're building back the police force. We're looking to, improve wages to stay competitive, attract new people to open positions, and retain the staff that we have. And we really do have some great staff. And so my challenge will be to remain competitive in the workplace, and that's what we're attempting to do here.
No, yeah, I think it makes plenty of sense, and it's not, whether it's schools, local businesses, a lot of people are having retainment issues, whether it be travel, whatever it is, whatever the reason is. It's been tough on all businesses out here and the municipalities. It's something that you hear often, no matter where you go. But again, I think the inflation payments are a great thing, and I know just as well as you do how hard the employees do work over there. You want let's move on to the next topic. We're time's going fast as it always does. Cellular and emergency communications. Do you have any specific developments that you'd like to go over today?
Well, we are planning on having at our September 6th work session an update on cellular and emergency communications.
Okay.
As you may know, the town for a number of years has been implementing a town-wide emergency communications system upgrade. The previous, system was becoming obsolete and no longer supported by Motorola, and so we started. Actually, it began at the end of Larry Cantwell's term. Entering into a contract with Motorola to upgrade emergency communications townwide. That is largely complete. The one, missing link that we have is we had sought to add an emergency communications tower somewhere in Springs.
Mm-hmm.
There currently wasn't one at the time we started, and there wasn't any plans for an emergency communications tower till we came in, and so, that has been an ongoing saga, if you will. That we've sought a location within Springs, which is the most densely inhabited hamlet in East Hampton town. And while everybody wants emergency communications to be good, not everybody wants to see that tower somewhere near them. And in fact, I don't think there's been a single cellular communications tower that hasn't been met with litigation by neighbors. Proposal anywhere in town in the last 6 or 7, 8 years. And as far as emergency communications, those towers in Springs have been opposed by neighbors wherever they've been proposed. To date, the exception of that would be Camp Blue Bay, which is the Girl Scout camp. It's 171 acres off Flaggy Hole Road and 3 Mile Hog Creek Road. And, initially the town was looking at a nearly 7-acre parcel, now called the Crandall Woodlands. It was a former sand pit, kind of an abandoned sand pit where people would dump and whatever. That property is now being considered as for dedication as a nature preserve, given the fact that it's one of the few little undeveloped lots in that whole neighborhood.
Okay.
And while we had initially attempted to do a drop and swap where the Girl Scout camp has a current tower.
Yeah.
Initially, we were told the Girl Scouts wouldn't accept above 120 feet on the tower, and so we looked for another spot, and we're looking into Crandall Woodlands. It came out that they actually would consider a taller tower, so that effort is before the planning board at this point. There have been initial submissions. We expect that the planning board will discuss that application again on the 14th of September, I think it is.
Okay.
But we want to just bring everybody up to date. What's the status of cellular communications towers within the town? As I said, a number of them are being litigated. One at St. Peter's Chapel had been litigated. The town entered into a settlement with the cell phone company. And then that was litigated by the neighbors, and that's ongoing. So we just want to bring everybody up to date. Again, the town doesn't provide cellular communications. In fact, I don't think there's any municipality anywhere that provides those. We do regulate to some degree the towers, but the biggest problem has been to date really the litigation from neighbors who oppose them wherever they are proposed.
Well, I know that it's a topic of conversation amongst everyone is the cell service out here. But I do want to put out that the town has tried their best, their very best.
Yeah, and as far as the emergency communications go, we do have a temporary cell tower down at Gann Road for emergency communications to help supplement those. And again, there was never an emergency communications tower in Springs in the past, so there is one now. We believe that with the approval of the Camp Blue Bay location, we think the planning board would probably approve that, but the public should weigh in on that as well. That will go a long way to solve both cellular communications within Springs and will bolster and further
that's good.
expand emergency communications. It will allow some backlinks for emergency communications. So if you had another tower site go down, it could be a relay site between Northwest and Montauk, for instance, or Noyak and Montauk.
All right, last topic here, as we have about 4 minutes or so. This is a genuine question I have. I was confused, and I'm sure others may have been too. There's a story in the East Hampton Star about the Maidstone Gun Club lease's expiration being up in 2023. The genuine question I have is, and I don't know why is the lease only $100 a year for 97 acres of town land?
So a couple questions there. I guess the first question people might ask is, do they need all 97 acres?
Yes, that was another.
I think that's something we'll take a look at. I wasn't involved. I mean, I think it was 20 some years ago.
Back in '83, and then they redid it again in '94. I wasn't even alive, so.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm not trying to make you feel old, but.
Oh, you don't need to.
Put my foot in my mouth right now.
So, I mean, I guess that would be the first question. The town board will look at a number of things before renewing a lease. And of course, it has to be mutually acceptable by both parties. First question is, do they need all of that acreage? Maybe not, probably not. You certainly would want to have a certain amount of buffer area between the gun club, what areas they can control to ensure that there's a safety buffer.
Definitely.
The other aspect that I think people might not fully understand is that all of our local law enforcement agencies are required to be certified in firearms training on a regular basis.
Okay.
So that's all your police officers, Marine Patrol, and court officers. That training, should they have to travel to Riverhead to do that, is time that's paid. I think that's part of the reason why in the past that lease number was so low, because they provide that access free of charge to all local and law enforcement, including Southampton, Sag Harbor, Sagaponack.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It's basically South Fork that they provide that access for. And so I think that's an important thing to consider. The board will probably take a look at, I've heard people raise questions about what kind of environmental impacts the gun club may have, as the skeet and trap ranges use lead shot, I think, for the target shooting. It's my understanding, and we'll certainly look at this closely, that there aren't really groundwater contamination concerns, because the way lead interacts with soils, that it bonds to the soils and does not trickle its way down to the aquifer.
Okay.
But some sort of review of environmental conditions, and maybe requesting some remediation wouldn't be out of the question. So that's all I can really say about that at this point. We haven't really discussed it. Again, it's not up until, I think, October of 23.
Yeah.
So it's more than a year out.
To be honest, I thought it was a print error. I guess the 1984 deal, they got a pretty good deal, it sounds like.
Yeah, and you have to admit that times have changed, and since 1984. I mean, look at the real estate values since 1984.
Well, the
I
Jets are
mean,
still
it's
the Jets are still
unbelievable. You know, $5,000-6,000, you could actually buy a building lot.
It's true. It's a good point. Well, Peter, thank you so much. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for watching at home if you did. Peter, I'll see you again in 2 weeks after Labor Day.
Thanks so much, Matt. It's good to see you. Stay safe and be well, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to John in the control room. I hope everyone has a good rest of their week. Bye.
Bye-bye.